Hello, welcome back, Tan Lovelies. Aetheral Space 13.55. No, I'm not bringing it back. I'm done with Tan Lovelies.
I was about to say, are you bringing back Tan Lovelies?
I thought I'd give it a try, but it was rancid to my touch.
Rancid to the tongue.
Yeah,
welcome back. Aetheral Space 13.55. The wings. Slumber.
Imagine something tastes so bad that you can like taste it when you touch it because it's that bad.
I feel like there is shit like that. You know what I mean?
I don't. Not really. You don't have taste buds on your fingers.
Yeah.
Well, you don't.
They call me. Actually, no. There's no way to come up with a fun name for that. That isn't weird.
They call me the finger taster.
Finger looking good. Alright,
they came up with that phrase when they saw me. In the
That's
countryside.
horrifying.
Like a creature.
Anyway. Jamilu Aguta sat cross-legged in the silent, dark room, demon spear resting across his knees, and drank in the past. Impressions scraped from the surface of Victory's consciousness, scents, smells, images, flashes of legends of days long past. He breathed, and he saw. A galaxy governed by cruel curiosity, mankind warped into shapes grotesque and pitiful, every living thing twisted into servitude from the very moment of its birth. Hell. For those cursed to exist in that era, it was a hell that seemed inescapable. But then, crafted by the hands of man, a sapphire star, granting a light of the mind to the people, before setting off on its endless voyage. Warriors pouring the light into themselves, becoming legends in their own right, unleashing the flesh-bound resentment and allowing it to flood across the galaxy. Sapphire Star, you say? And it granted? Was this Azez? Did he give everyone Aether? Was I not crazy about the bargain?
Oh no.
Zerakel, the blindman, who tore his own eyes from his skull out of spite towards their abominable craftsmen, blue fury shining out of the empty sockets. With harpoons in hand, he rained down death upon his creators, a single touch of his weapons turning shifting flesh into naught but cold meat. Bishu Delmar, the Origin Companion. Is that like Delmar's?
Only one more.
Oh, okay. Is it Bishu?
Yeah.
Is it pronounced differently? Bishu Delmar, the Origin Companion, dancing between the ranks of monsters with scimitar in hand. With arts of the sword that the new power elevated into divinity, he led countless slaves out of captivity into lands made safe. Among the Zaylan Morhan, the companions of the hero, he was by far the most beloved. Perhaps that was why he found the knives with comrades in his back after the dust settled.
And Seif the Scaleless betrayed his own.
That's what it feels like right now.
That's exactly what I was going
fucking
for.
cinder. Idra, Saint of the Wound, his chest opened wide by the strike of a tyrant, his words unintelligible for any who had not seen the face of God. Bleeding spear in hand, he led legions of zealots through the darkest battlefields of the war, a terror upon their creators. In days to come, his armies would come to form the spine of the nascent final church. Roland Nebula. Ooh, I assume founder of the UAP, namesake of the 10 Nebula? Roland Nebula, who floated freely in the void, wielding his blade of starlight. With single swings, mighty vessels were burnt to cinders, and the cinders burnt to nothing. In time, many nations would come to form around the safety of his presence. Among the titans of the revolutions, only he and the other would pass of old age. Yes, the other. Azez the Absolute, standing resplendent over all. So was Azez, Zaylan Morhan?
Yeah, well, they were like his gang, his boys.
They were his contenders.
Yeah, they were just like his like if this was an RPG, they were his companions, his party.
I thought the Zaylan Morhan were like UAP berserkers.
No. They're the pre-special officers basically. Like special officers are modeled after.
I thought when they were initially described, they were like berserkers. Like
no, that was Oldians of the Dawn, who were UAP.
Okay, I got confused. Azez the Absolute, standing resplendent over all, shining lantern of truth in hand, each ray baking tumors into the bodies of his enemies. Foes that had called themselves gods crawled desperately away from him, and heroes flocked to join his banner. Soon enough that banner became the symbol of an empire. Soon enough that lantern became the symbol of fell treachery. Yes, treachery, 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 treachery! Azez With the tyranny exterminated, the tribe of the Absolute turned against their comrades, burning them, beating them, absorbing their lands under their own flag. Battle at the borders, endless battle, battle even after death, fighting and fighting and fighting and killing and killing and killing and... the blood. The sweet blood, more. More battle, more fighting, more killing. Yes. Jamilu opened his eyes, tearing his consciousness away from victories. They had brushed up against each other. How unpleasant. What was Victory's voice again?
I think it was kind of like this, maybe.
What? Sneered the demon spear. Too honest for you? What a cowardly brat! Jamilu did not dignify the thing with a response. It was true that the old demons of the dawn, ancient aether armaments created shortly after the revolutions, had once been heroes of the Ingansi. That's his people that have the special ability, right? Okay. But the endless struggle against the supremacy had changed them, warped their minds into murderous fiends. They had become addicted to the bloodshed and the suffering. Their laughter now lingered in the dark. Victory, wisdom, resolve, daring, and mercy. These are not the Zaylan Morhan. These are their own guys.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is Victory he has.
Yeah.
Just one of them held the potential for slaughter untold, and Jamilu held that malice in his hands. Victory was the strongest of the demons in direct combat, but the strength of its will was even more frightening. It was a rare warrior who could restrain the old bastard's consciousness. Still, it was probably best not to test his own prowess in that regard right now, Jamilu supposed. His mind was distracted. If Victory saw a weakness, it would take advantage of it instantly. The demon was brash, but it was far from stupid. Ignoring Victory's taunts, Jamilu thought instead on the future. Come the morning, the match between Dorothy Iroh and Atoy Muzazi would take place. Both held promise as a UAP-friendly Supreme, but he couldn't decide who he'd rather see victorious. Which would bring the peace Jamilu yearned for to the galaxy? Someone mentioned an interesting theory, by the way.
Yeah?
That, in the set, there's an Erica mentioned who, outshines everyone, and that Erica was also a child of the Dark Star Garden, and they think that could be Dorothy.
Interesting.
But, who can say? The swordsman they called the Full Moon, or the woman called the kindest special officer of the Supremacy. Even if once she had been among the deadliest. Oh. So, has she had a change of heart?
She got Persona 5, maybe.
The command... she heard her
it went to 99%, it's like, try and steal it if you can.
What was her treasure?
I don't know.
The ruby slippers, of course. The commands rang out throughout the Temple of the Tree of Might. Inviolable directives, absolute orders, the will of all word. Metal strips, descend into the temple and restrain every person you find. A flock of metal birds, hunting, flying, snapping into place around wrists and ankles and mouths. Metal strips holding prisoners. Separate the Tree of Might prisoners from those belonging to Shooting Star Security Solutions. Flailing bodies dragged along the ground, grown men and women handled like toys, disciplined like misbehaving children. A humiliation, but not one that could be opposed. Metal strips holding injured prisoners. Take them to the nearest hospital. A procession of floating bodies carried through the sky single file, proceeding out of sight. So these must have hella infusion if they're this strong. Marcus Grace and his kin were among them, thoroughly unconscious each and all. Fino Onio cast a bloody glare back at the one who had sent him away. Metal strips holding dead prisoners. Lay them to rest. Preserve their dignity. Rows upon rows of corpses kept as intact as possible, lining the floor of the throne room, slashed by a blade, shot by a gun. These deaths were common, but dignity following them was not. More than one body was rendered unrecognizable by their messy end. Metal strips holding Morgan Nacht. Hold him out before me. Morgan said nothing as invisible hands lifted him up into the air, dragging him before the figure of Dorothy Iroh. He made no complaint at the rough treatment, nor did he try to escape. An unprecedented opportunity was before him, the chance to watch the Allward in action. He couldn't waste the tiniest bit of attention on anything else. Still, he had to ask. As he was held out in front of Dorothy, he tried to speak, his voice a muffled mess against his metal gag. Dorothy raised her eyebrows, realizing the issue. Oh. Metal strip covering Morgan Nacht's mouth, she commanded hurriedly. Lift yourself away and let him speak. If he tries to use an ability, return to cover his mouth immediately. The way she designated the item she was commanding was interesting. As his mouth was uncovered, Morgan spoke. The Del Said twins below. Did you kill them? I haven't, Dorothy replied. There's no reason for me to do that. They're restrained like everyone else. I'll return them to you once I send you home. Send you home. A shudder of irritation ran through Morgan's body. It really was like they were kids. He stuffed the feeling down. And when will that be? Morgan asked. In a minute, Dorothy replied. She wasn't looking at him, but rather behind him, to where Xander Rain was restrained. Holding him down had taken much more effort than anyone else. So many metal strips were now wrapped around his body that he almost looked spherical, wound around his eyes as well, so as to stop him from using his ability with any accuracy. To be honest, Morgan hadn't expected him to be that much of a problem. But then again, he had brutalized the Graces. He'd be one to keep an eye on. And, Morgan cleared his throat, what happens in that minute? Dorothy blinked. I want you to call Latoy Muzazi. No way. No matter the situation, Dorothy Iroh was Latoy Muzazi's enemy. Morgan wouldn't betray the commander like that. If he showed up here, Morgan had no doubt the next round of the Dawn contest would be beginning early once again. Dorothy cocked her head. Why not? I'm not letting him come to this battlefield, Morgan glared. In a situation like this with all these hostages? Get real. If I told you I just wanted to talk to him, would that change things? Like I'd believe you. Well, Dorothy sighed. I guess you're right. I didn't really want to do it this way, though. Blue Aether flashed, and in the next instant, Dorothy Iroh plunged her fist towards Morgan's stomach. Immediately, on reflex more than anything else, Morgan channeled all of his infusion into the spot that Iroh was about to strike. He didn't register that the attack was a little too slow. He didn't register that the attack was a little too weak. What he did register, though, was Dorothy Iroh's free hand suddenly lashing out and seizing his forehead. He certainly registered the hostile Aether infusion that flooded through his skull, fast and strong as a tsunami. And when Dorothy Iroh spoke next, he registered that most of all. Morgan knocked. Call Latoy Muzazi here. Oh no! She's a mind controller.
Yeah, if she
That's
infuses
evil!
it, she can just do anything that she's got infused.
I'm glad. I also have to say, it's very cool that you showed, like, because we've seen so many times the pinpoint infusion save people, to see it, like, abused like this is really fun.
She's like, ooh, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
Gotcha! I'm grateful that you saved my comrades, Latoy Muzazi murmured, looking out the window at the aftermath of the battle. And yet, I can't help but wonder why. He turned back to Dorothy Iroh, standing opposite him in the empty office. Care to explain? He asked. She crossed her arms, leaning against a spent water cooler. What makes you think I acted to save your comrades? Sorry, I lost my place. You typed something. They're all alive, Muzazi frowned, whereas the Tree of Might have suffered many casualties. I cannot help but see a bias. Trust me, it was unintentional, Dorothy shrugged. Both your men and the Tree of Might were low on my priority list. Muzazi's frown deepened. Why act at all, then? Dorothy furrowed her brow as if the answer were obvious. Because of the temple, of course. You were planning to bring it down, right? Blow it up? It went against Muzazi's better judgment to reveal the details of his plans. But then again, the plan had already failed. Slowly, he nodded. That's right. Well, there you go, Dorothy waved her hand. Something that big blows up in the middle of the city, a lot of innocent people are gonna get hurt. I couldn't just let that happen. Muzazi looked deep into her dark eyes and saw nothing but the truth there. Dorothy Iroh meant every word she said, it seemed. She was living up to her reputation. And yet, he said slowly, we now found ourselves in a room together. I can't help but wonder if you wish to take advantage of the situation. I don't want you to fight you yet, Dorothy shook her head. The match is tomorrow, and it's going to be happening in the arena. Don't worry, I'm not like Nail Mandarin or Mariloco. I understand the kind of collateral damage that comes from a battle in the city. So why is it we're meeting then? Easy, Dorothy looked at him again, her gaze unbreakable. I wanted to ask you to surrender again. Muzazi's reply was immediate. No. Can't you at least think about it? Dorothy sighed. If you're worried about my motives, I've just laid them out for you. I want to keep the innocent safe. If you're worried about my competency, I just took out 2 of the Tree of Might's branches like it was nothing. Not to mention the guys you brought along. What else do you need from me?
Where's your CV?
What else? The question echoed through Muzazi's battered body. A rueful smirk twisted his lips. That really wasn't the right question, was it? He was lying again. Murderer. Now, he told the truth. It's not a question of competency, he said quietly. Dorothy frowned. What then? Slowly, carefully, as if worried that some god would see him. Musashi looked down at his hand. It was trembling. I made a promise to someone. Someone who since passed away. I told them I would be supreme. I told them I would make that happen. Ah, Dorothy slowly nodded. He looked at her, face aggrieved, and dared to hope for just a moment. Couldn't, he swallowed. Couldn't you surrender? Is that not possible at all? Dorothy looked down towards the floor. I'm afraid not. Sorry. I have promises too. To who, if you don't mind me asking? The kindest special officer sighed. I don't know their names. What? When I became a special officer, said Dorothy, looking up at him, silhouetted by the lights of passing cars outside, I didn't care much for people. I didn't care much for anything. I just did whatever I was told, and I went where I was told, and I killed who I was told. So many, my sword was always red. I threw it away years ago, but I look down there and I can see it, and it's still red. I understand, Musashi said honestly, and his eyes flicked down to the hand that had once held dread luminescence. What changed? For a long while, it looked like Dorothy wouldn't answer him. But then her mouth started moving again. There was someone I was told to kill, she said quietly, her gaze distant. A teacher of sorts. I don't even know why they wanted him dead. He was dying already. But they told me to do it, so I did it. Dorothy swallowed, and Musashi saw that her eyes held the beginnings of tears. But he said something to me, the teacher, before I killed him, she murmured. Those words, they wouldn't mean anything to you, I don't think, but I couldn't stop thinking about them. Before long, they were all I could think about. They drilled right through me. She looked up at him. I realized that when I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize the person looking back at me. I didn't know them, and I didn't want to know them. So I made promises too, to every person I'd killed. Her gaze was stone. I would fix my heart, and then I would fix the world too. So I absolutely can't surrender to you. There's just no way. Cold wind whistled at the windows, interrupted by the blaring of angry traffic. Behind Dorothy, Musashi could see the Temple of the Tree of Might, grievously damaged, being inspected by authorities for transportation. The night was old and getting older, and Toy Musashi was tired of being right. So, he said, throat dry, there exists no recourse for either of us. Dorothy smiled sadly. I don't think so, no. I see, he murmured. Then all that awaits us is the morning. Dorothy nodded. Yep, I guess we've got no choice but to fight. Those were the last words they needed to exchange on that night. Dorothy left from the roof, using her ability to have a floor tile carry her away. As Musashi walked through the dark, empty rooms of the building, proceeding to the ground floor exit, he couldn't help but think. Think and dread. Dorothy Iroh had said that they had no choice but to fight. Perhaps that was true. No doubt that was what awaited them in the arena of the Absolute. But the terror in her eyes, the sorrow in her voice, Toy Musashi knew them well from his own mirror. The word she'd been looking for wasn't fight at all. Toy Musashi passed through the doors. In the silence, took dominion. What was the word?
What do you think it is?
Kill?
Yeah.
No! Because neither of them will surrender!
Yeah.
It's funny to me that, like, Samson Rhodes surrendered, though, right?
Yeah.
He was like, haha, good fight, champ. But, like, they're so hard-headed. This is making me sad. It's good, though. It's really good. I assume the teacher was the tutor that we have heard about. Why did they want him dead? What did he say? Will we get to know?
Maybe.
This is tough. She's become even more sympathetic to me as someone who once sucked but, like, grew as a person. Heavily relatable. Fuck. Oh, man. Interesting. Anyway, we have questions to read, don't we?
Yes. And then
oh man, this is a good chapter!
Then we need to go through the Tomb of the Giants so we can fight Idra, Saint to the Wound.
Yeah, for real. Quaker asks, how many people in the Special Officers Commission upper echelons knew the truth about Marie?
Very few. Exceedingly few.
Interesting. Alright. And the next Quaker asks, how did Bruno and Serena get their names? Did they choose them, or did Jakob come up with them?
Jakob would have come up with them.
Interesting.
Prior to that, they would have just been named like Attack and Defense.
That's so funny. Lan asks, how do you stay interested in writing AS for such a long time?
You've asked me this already. Has he asked me this already?
Oh, sorry. Here, Lan has a good one. What's the maximum speed of Aether?
Well, I don't know, but in terms of actual, I don't want to give like a measurement because that's going to be bullshit immediately. It's going to be a random number leaving my mouth. But it can differ depending on the person. Like Dorothy Iro, in terms of infusion, is like fucking busted. Like she can do it fucking quick.
Let's put it this way: can it go as fast as the speed of light or faster?
Not the speed of light, no.
Okay.
Like infusion speed, there is. You have a chance to like get there first, basically.
Interesting.
Well, but with Dorothy Iro, you probably don't because it's just that fucking fast for her.
JT asks, what are some other Aether abilities thought of in concept that no one has managed to do successfully, other than Der Freishoot?
Well, people are always like, oh, I want time abilities, I want to stop time for real, I want to go back in time, and they're not able to do it, they can't do it.
I also mentioned the one I had asked you about before, which is like performing alchemy by altering protons, electrons, neutrons, and you were like, technically it's possible.
Technically it's possible, but no one's done it yet.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of another good one. What would be a popular one? Probably bringing back the dead, I assume.
Well, the zombie abilities. There's no shortage of like zombie abilities.
Like a true resurrection.
True resurrection. A true resurrection will probably not be possible. The best you could probably do is something like ego emulation, where you have a dead body and you like stuff the Aether impression of their consciousness back into the body, but it would not necessarily be the same person. It's basically like an Aether awakening with the human body.
It would be like a caricature of them.
Yeah, there's missing bits of the consciousness. It's going to fill in those gaps with the path of least resistance. So it's going to be like a cartoon version of you.
Has there been anyone who successfully digitized their consciousness and then had it recorded and uploaded to a body?
Yeah, the Paradisus.
Oh, so couldn't they technically become immortal? No, I know, but like, and then record it and put it in a physical body.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant like recording in a digital sense.
No, like they record themselves digitally, then someone records it with Aether and then puts it in a body.
No, but all Demons of the Dawn are probably pretty close, because they were originally actually people, and then they put their consciousnesses into weapons to keep fighting after death. And
then the weapons were maintained by something. Because they didn't rust away.
Well, yeah, they were like cultural relics. They were like holy, divine weapons until the consciousness degraded over time, and they became like maniacs.
So wasn't Azez the Sapphire Star? Because Dragon was also called Sapphire Star.
Azez is not the Sapphire Star. I'll say that.
But Dragon was also called Sapphire Star, wasn't he?
He's been called a Shooting Star.
No, but I thought Victory called him the Sapphire Star, and then went Azez.
He was referring to two different things if he said that.
Interesting. I'm very curious. So did Azez not find Aether then?
I will say he is not the one who found Aether.
Presumably it was the Sapphire Star. Is Dragon a reincarnation of them?
No. Well, we know that it's been mentioned a couple of times. Edgar, the creator of the Prince, is the one who discovered Aether. We know that.
We know Edgar's the discoverer?
Yeah, it's been mentioned a couple of times.
It was mentioned he who made the Prince had it, and that Edgar had it. We didn't know for sure.
Yeah, it's been mentioned as he discovered Aether as well. It's been mentioned.
So he's the Sapphire Star?
He is not the Sapphire Star.
Okay, so the Sapphire Star is what gave people Aether. What do you mean? What else could it be if he's not the Sapphire Star? But
if you get it right, I'm not going to tell you.
And my theory grows every day that someone made a bargain with some sort of Aether entity, which unlocked Aether for everybody, and excluded it from Gene Tyrants for the purposes of their revolution. I may have been cracked all this time, viewers. My theory holds water.
It takes Dominion.
How long did the Gene Tyrants run shit again?
Long enough that we do not have prior history known of.
So over 10,000 years.
Yes, it would have been an absurd amount of time.
God damn. Alright, well, I think that's everything for now. Fuck, this one has a lot of lore to pick at! Oh, I can't wait for people to see this tomorrow. Well, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.